The revolving glass doors spun slowly. Cold air spilled into the marble lobby, replacing the sticky morning heat. Janine Hayes stepped inside, brushing a damp curl from her forehead and adjusting the strap on her tote bag. Her flats were still dusty from the subway stairs. She looked around, spotting the receptionist's desk ahead, its polished wood gleaming under the overhead lights. She walked toward it calmly. The woman behind the desk, white, mid-50s, tailored blazer, didn't look up at first. She was on her phone, flipping a pen between two fingers. Janine waited. Finally, a glance. "You're early," the woman said, not unkindly but not warmly either. Her eyes darted to the mop and supply closet near the hall. "Cleaning usually starts at 7. Janine blinked once, then twice. "I'm here for the 9 a.m. appointment," she said, voice quiet but clear. The receptionist frowned. "Oh, who with?" "Mr. Gerhardt." The pen stopped spinning. The woman checked a list, expression pinched. Then she looked up again, slower this time. "That interview's for a senior partner position." Janine nodded. "Wait here," the woman said, already picking up the phone. Janine stepped aside and took a seat near the wall, hands folded in her lap. The receptionist watched her through the corner of her eye, uncertainty creeping in, but her tone on the call remained brisk. Janine didn't look back. She just waited. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. The receptionist kept glancing at Janine, her brow furrowing just a little more each time. She stood, walked to the hallway, peeked in, then returned to her desk. Still no greeting. No apology. Janine's phone buzzed once. A text from her mentor, "You'll be great. Just stay steady." She smiled faintly, then let the phone fall back into her bag. Across the lobby, a man in a crisp navy suit exited the elevator, heading for the front desk. Mid-40s, confident stride. Janine recognized him from her research. Gerald Gerhardt, name on the door. The receptionist straightened. "Mr. Gerhardt, I believe there's been a mix-up with your 9 a.m. He looked past her, spotted Janine, and broke into a smile. "Janine Hayes," he said, already walking toward her. She stood. "Good morning, sir." "No need for, sir. We're thrilled you're here." He extended a hand. "We've got a full morning ahead. Come on back, everyone's eager to meet you." As they turned to go, Janine caught the receptionist's face, pale, frozen. Her mouth parted slightly, but no sound came. Gerhardt paused. "Did she give you any trouble?" Janine looked at the woman, then back at him. "No," she said simply. "I wasn't expected." And with that, she followed him down the hall. They walked past rows of glass-walled offices. Every few steps, someone looked up, a partner reviewing case files, an associate mid-call, a paralegal balancing 3 coffee cups. Faces turned, some with curiosity, some with that faint, flickering surprise that came when expectation collided with reality. Gerhardt didn't notice or pretended not to. He kept his tone upbeat. "We've been needing someone with your litigation background for a long time. Most of the senior team's upstairs, but I wanted you to meet a few folks down here first." Janine nodded. She noticed the glances but didn't slow her step. At one office, a man in suspenders leaned in the doorway, sipping from a branded Firm mug. His eyes swept over Janine, pausing at her sensible shoes and plain tote bag. Then he smiled, just barely. "Morning," he said, like it was a test. "Good morning," Janine replied, meeting his gaze. They kept walking. Past the break room. Past a glass-walled conference room where a junior associate actually stood up to get a better look. Whispers followed in their wake, quiet and fast. Janine heard every one of them. Gerhardt stopped in front of a closed door. "In here," he said. "Let's get you settled." He opened the door and gestured her in. It was a corner office. Spacious. Clean lines. A nameplate rested on the desk, blank, waiting. "Take a seat," he said, already pulling out her file. "We'll go over the formalities, but I want you to know we're not just excited to have you. We're lucky." Janine sat down slowly. For the first time that morning, she let herself breathe. The murmurs outside hadn't stopped, but she was in the room now. Gerhardt skimmed through the file, nodding to himself as he flipped each page. Stanford Law. Clerked for the Ninth Circuit. Led counsel on 2 federal discrimination cases. "You've done more in 5 years than some partners here manage in a decade." Janine didn't react. She'd heard versions of this before, the surprise that sounded like praise but felt like recalibration. "I'm glad the board saw what I saw," he added, setting the folder aside. She met his eyes. They had questions. He smiled sheepishly. "Some did. Mostly about fit. You know how these things go." "I do," she said. He hesitated. "You'll have to win a few people over. I won't sugarcoat that. Some partners were expecting someone different. Janine nodded slowly. "That's fine. I didn't come here to be expected." Gerhardt leaned back. "Good. Because this firm needs shaking up more than it needs reassurance." A knock at the door broke the moment. The receptionist stood there, framed in the doorway. Her expression was tighter now, almost rehearsed. "I brought your welcome packet," she said, holding out a leather-bound folder. Janine stood to take it. "Thank you," she said evenly. The woman nodded, but her eyes flicked down. "I apologize for earlier. I didn't realize." "You didn't ask," Janine said. Not harsh, just true. The woman froze. Janine held her gaze for a second longer, then turned back to her desk. The door clicked shut behind her. Gerhardt exhaled. "You sure you're ready for this?" Janine sat, calm, grounded. "I've been ready. They're just catching up." An hour later, Gerhardt led Janine to the 11th floor boardroom. Long table, 12 high-back chairs, windows overlooking the skyline. The kind of room where deals were made and decisions whispered before policies got written. Inside were 6 partners, all white, all in suits, none smiling. As Janine entered, 3 of them glanced up, then back at their tablets. One, a man with silver hair and a crimson tie, stood to offer a handshake, late but stiff. "Ms. Hayes," he said. "Or should I say, Partner Hayes." "Janine is fine," she replied, taking his hand. They sat. Gerhardt cleared his throat. "You all received the background packet last week. I wanted to bring Janine in personally so we could start the integration process." A woman with pearl earrings looked up. "I assumed this was still under discussion." "It's been finalized," Gerhardt replied, measured. Another partner, tall, with a deep furrow between his brows, leaned forward. "Forgive me, but this is unusual. We've never fast-tracked a partner without at least a 6-month associate rotation." Janine didn't flinch. "That's true. And I've never joined a firm where the receptionist mistook me for janitorial staff. So I'd say we're both adjusting to new standards." The room went quiet. One partner coughed. The man in the crimson tie shifted in his chair. Janine folded her hands on the table. "Let's not pretend this discomfort is mutual. I'm not here to challenge tradition for its own sake. I'm here to do better work than the last 3 people who sat in that chair." She nodded toward the empty seat across from her. "And I will." Gerhardt didn't say a word. He didn't need to. The silence in the room said everything. The meeting ended without much discussion. A few awkward handshakes. Muted nods. Gerhardt offered to walk her back down, but Janine declined. "I'd rather find my own way," she said. She left the boardroom alone. The hallway was quieter now, the midday hush settling over the office. As she passed by open doors, she caught more glances. Some curious, some uneasy, 1 or 2 just blank. She stopped by the firm's kitchenette to pour a glass of water. A young woman in business casual stood by the coffee machine, clearly a paralegal. She looked up, startled, then gave a tight smile. "You're the new partner?" she asked. Janine nodded. The woman hesitated, then leaned slightly closer, her voice low. "They thought you were someone else at first. I heard them talking." Janine sipped her water. "They'll figure it out." The woman paused, unsure what to say next. Then, "I hope you stay. We need someone like you here." Janine gave a slight nod, nothing more. She returned to her new office. Her name was still missing from the plate, the desk still untouched, but the air felt different now. More still, less assuming. She sat, opened her laptop, and began reading through the firm's most active cases. Not to prove anything, just to get to work. The afternoon moved slowly. Janine reviewed the client portfolios, cross-referenced filings, and flagged inconsistencies in 2 active cases. She sent her notes without fanfare, signing simply, J. Hayes, partner. No flourish. No title reminders. Around 3 p.m., someone knocked lightly. It was the woman from the kitchenette. She hovered at the door, uncertain. I wanted to say thanks for how you handled the meeting. People noticed." Janine looked up. "Noticed what?" "That you didn't flinch." Janine tilted her head. "Why would I flinch?" The woman gave a faint smile. "Exactly." She left as quietly as she came. Moments later, another visitor. This time a junior associate, pale, mid-20s, nervous in the way people are when they realize they've made the wrong assumption too recently. "I'm Alex. I'm supposed to shadow one of the senior partners this quarter. If you're open to it, I'd like to work under you." Janine raised an eyebrow. "You asked anyone else yet?" "No," he admitted. "I didn't think. I wasn't sure how to approach you earlier. But after the meeting, I figured maybe I should just ask." She studied him for a beat. He didn't look away. "All right," she said. "You'll do your work, though. I don't care if you've got a degree from the moon." "Yes, ma'am," he said quickly. Janine shook her head. "Don't call me ma'am." He laughed sheepishly. Right? Sorry. Janine. She nodded once. He left. She went back to her screen, but this time she noticed the nameplate. Still blank. It wouldn't be tomorrow. Maybe not even this week. But one day soon it would say Hayes. And nobody would need to ask who she was. Friday came fast. Janine sat at the end of a long oak conference table, her laptop open, fingers steepled. Across from her were 4 junior associates, 1 senior paralegal, and a litigation partner named Alan who hadn't made eye contact with her all week. They were reviewing a case, wrongful termination, multi-state jurisdiction, sensitive optics. Janine had flagged it Monday. Now it was hers to lead. Alan cleared his throat. I've been running point on this case for 3 months. We have a decent argument if we can narrow venue options. Janine nodded. Then why haven't you narrowed them? He blinked. We were waiting on general counsel today. I called GC yesterday, Janine said. They're open to early mediation, but only if we stop posturing. Alan's jaw tensed. The room went still. She turned to the junior associate on her right. Kelsey pulled a client's internal policy history. I want the 2018 clause changes. By end of day. Kelsey nodded, scribbling quickly. Then Janine looked back at Alan. If you're still attached to this case, you'll adapt. If not, say so now. He stared at her for a long moment. Finally, he looked down, flipped a page in his binder. I'll adapt, he said. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. Because for the first time that week, no one in the room was wondering why she was there. They were listening. By 5 o'clock, the office had begun to thin out. Phones quieted. Desks cleared. The Friday hush settled in. Janine stepped into the lobby, headed for the elevator. The receptionist glanced up from her monitor, same woman from Monday, same tailored blazer. But her posture had changed. She stood. Ms. Hayes, she said. No hesitation this time. Have a good evening. Janine met her eyes. You too. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Janine stepped inside, alone. Just before the doors closed, the receptionist added, I hope you know I've been thinking about that morning. Janine turned slightly, met the woman's gaze. I figured you might, she said. The doors shut. The elevator descended. No lecture. No forgiveness asked, none offered. Just quiet acknowledgement. Enough to matter. Not enough to erase. Janine walked out into the dusk. Outside, the city had softened. Traffic moved slower. A few tired commuters waited for rides, phones glowing in their palms. Janine didn't check hers. She didn't need directions. She knew exactly where she was going now. Monday morning. The lobby was busier, voices echoing off marble, footsteps quick on tile. Janine entered the same way she had a week earlier, flats, no makeup, laptop bag snug on her shoulder. Nothing changed outwardly. Except everything had. The receptionist nodded. Welcome back, Ms. Hayes. Janine gave a small nod, didn't pause. She rode the elevator up to 11. The hallway was quiet, but different. A young intern walking by gave her a polite smile, not the kind people give strangers. At her office, she stopped. The nameplate was there now. Black metal. White letters. Janine Hayes, partner. No fanfare. No flowers. Just a fact quietly displayed. She stepped inside, set down her bag, and took her seat. Through the glass wall, she saw the office hum to life. Voices, laughter, the soft clatter of keyboards. And every so often, someone would pass and glance inside. Some looked longer than others. A few just nodded. But none looked away. She opened her email and got to work. Because that name on the door wasn't the reward. It was the beginning. Midday brought a knock. Not hesitant. Not loud. Just firm. It was Alan, the partner from the Friday meeting. Jacket off, sleeves rolled, a thick file under one arm. His expression wasn't smug anymore. Just curious. Got a minute, he asked. Janine closed her laptop. Sure. He stepped inside, stayed standing. I read your notes on the Venner case. You were right about the timeline. She said nothing. Just waited. Alan cleared his throat. You have a different approach. More direct. No hedging. Not always how things are done around here. Janine leaned back slightly. If the way things are done works, I'll follow it. If it doesn't, I won't. He nodded slowly. Then can I ask, why us? Why this firm? She paused, thoughtful. Because this place has reach. It shapes outcomes that ripple past the courtroom. But it needed a shift. Not a revolution, just a recalibration. Alan looked down at the file, then back at her. Some people feel like the shift came fast. It didn't, Janine said quietly. You're just feeling it now. He stood in silence for a moment longer, then placed the file on her desk. I'd like your take on this one. Before I make a move. Janine nodded once. Leave it. He left without another word. Small shifts, quiet changes, but they were happening. Near the end of the week, the intern came back. Tall, barely out of undergrad, still learning how to carry a notepad without dropping it. He paused in her doorway, unsure. Come in, Janine said, without looking up. He stepped inside, cleared his throat. I wasn't sure if I should say anything, but I saw what happened. The first day. In the lobby. Janine closed her folder, met his eyes. I didn't know who you were, he continued, but I knew how they looked at you. I felt that before. Janine's expression softened, just slightly. Where? He shrugged. Different places. Schools, part-time jobs. Anywhere I wasn't expected. She nodded once. He hesitated again. It meant something. Seeing how you handled it. You didn't argue. You didn't raise your voice. You just let it hit and moved through it. Janine leaned forward slightly. And what did you take from that? He thought for a moment. That sometimes silence isn't surrender. It's control. Janine didn't respond immediately. Then good. Remember that. But also know, you don't owe anyone silence. The intern smiled. Thank you, ma'am. I mean, Janine. She gave a brief, approving nod. Go to your work, she said. And he did. Friday evening. Janine stood alone in the elevator, descending floor by floor. No rush. No briefing folder in her hand this time. Just her. The doors opened on 7. 2 voices entered. Associates she recognized. Young, sharp, in tailored suits. They were mid-conversation, didn't notice her right away. And she didn't even flinch. Not once, one said. You could tell the partners didn't know how to handle it. The other chuckled. Gerhardt said she was coming to reset the pace. I didn't think he meant literally. They turned and saw her. Silence. Janine didn't speak. She didn't smile. The first one nodded, awkward. Good evening, Miss Hayes. She nodded back. As the elevator continued, no one spoke. Not out of fear. Something else. Something quieter. Respect, maybe. Or the uncomfortable realization that what they'd heard secondhand. She had lived. The doors opened on the lobby. They stepped aside for her to exit first. Outside, the city pulsed under evening light. Horns. Footsteps. The usual. But behind her, in that small steel box, a shift had occurred. One that would ripple through quiet conversations and late-night thoughts. No speeches, just presence. Monday morning again. Janine moved through the 11th floor with quiet certainty. People nodded now. Some said good morning. No one asked if she was in the right place. Near her office, she paused at the framed portraits lining the hallway. Past and current partners. All sharp suits. All smiles. All white. There was a gap. A placeholder where her photo would go. She stared at it for a moment. Not with pride. Not with awe. With calculation. Because a picture wouldn't change the culture. But it would change the expectations. Behind her, footsteps approached. The paralegal from her first case. Mid-30s, black, sharp-eyed, slowed beside her. They're putting your photo up next week, she said. Janine gave a small nod. The paralegal added, voice low. When I started here, I used to walk this hallway and wonder how far I could go before someone decided I didn't belong. Janine didn't turn. And now, I think further than I thought. Stillness. Then Janine said, keep going. And she walked on. That Friday, the firm's weekly internal memo went out. Usual updates. New clients, closed deals, trial wins. One line near the bottom read, Janine Hayes officially joins as senior partner, litigation division. No photo. No spotlight. No pull quotes. Just a fact, quiet and undeniable. Janine read it at her desk. She didn't forward it. Didn't print it. Just closed the email and returned to her notes. Downstairs, the receptionist stared at the same memo for a long time. Then opened a drawer, pulled out the old visitor log from that first day, and quietly tore the page out. No one saw. In the break room, 2 associates discussed the news. One whispering that she'd heard Janine turn down a profile piece in the Times. Why? The other asked. Because she didn't come here to be seen. Later that afternoon, the intern paused at her door again. Your name's on everything now, he said, smiling. Even the lunchroom fridge. Janine looked up. Takes more than that to matter. He nodded, more serious this time. But it's a start. She closed her laptop, stood, and gathered her things. As she left, no one stared. They made space. Not because they were told to. Because they'd learned to.